About time to check out that Fey wine again, huh? Alright, so it's been, let's see here. We started this on February 12th. We did a rough rack on February 25th. And now we're going to do another test, see where it's at. Just on the smell alone, I'm going to say that last couple of weeks improved this so drastically. Now, last time it was at 1.000. We did not add anything else to it. So we're going to take a reading today and see if that changed. And then we can determine, are we going to adjust this or are we just going to rack it right off to conditioning and let it sit? It did maintain most of the color that I wanted. So I'm kind of happy about that. It's got like this
it's a pale,
odd pink.
peachy.
Yeah, it's really neat. That's a cool color. I like it.
Considering this was our Fey wine, I like that it has an unusual color.
It should look different. Okay, so it stayed the same. It's 1.000, which means it is finished. But it's only 11.65% ABV, and we used 71B yeast. That makes me wonder, because if this had gone truly dry, it'd be below 1.000, which means it's stuck? No, that just doesn't sound right. I think it's just so close to being done that it's good. But if we sweeten this now, will it kick up fermentation? I don't really know, but what I do know is I want to give a taste of this. It's actually quite clear. Like that is impressive for, this was started on February something?
Yeah, 2/12.
February 12th. So here we are, March 26th. This is only 6 weeks old. Considering all the stuff that we put in there and the way this was made.
Oh yeah, this was a nut.
Now I'm saying 11.65% ABV. It's probably higher than that because everything was done cold and I don't think everything was mixed thoroughly through. So it could actually be over 14%. I can't really be sure. All I can do is taste it, see what we want to do with it. The smell is actually quite nice. Now if you recall the first video, it's about knocked me on my butt when I took a smell in the bucket.
And we attributed that to the large amount of apple that we used in this. Apple does like to take its sweet time before it gets to be a pleasant experience.
I have to be honest, it's kind of boring. It's not the strong flavors that I expected to come out of this. I get a little bit of raspberry, a little bit of strawberry, but not much. It's mostly apple.
I get more of the rose in this than I do in the rose
Yeah, most definitely. More rose in this. I'm thinking we need to spice this up a little bit. So what I want to do... All right, so here's where we're at with this. It tastes a little... It's okay. It's not great. I'm going to guess it really is probably around 12% because it doesn't taste weak. It just does taste a little light on flavor, okay? It tastes a lot like a young apple cider, but it doesn't have the malic properties. It's actually more pleasant. It's quite pleasant. Very easy to drink, but it's not super enjoyable. Let's put it that way. So now we're wondering what to do with it. Do we add another type of juice and change the flavor profile? I'm not sure. I think a little sweetness added to this could go a long way. It does taste sweeter than 1.000 would suggest, but I think adding a little bit more honey to this might actually be the answer. And that brings up an interesting question. We have wildflower, which we used in it initially, and we also have orange blossom honey, which can be a little spicier and add a little more fruit flavor to it. I think that might be the answer. And I'm thinking like literally half a pound. Oh no, we have 2 gallons here, so I would add a pound. Just 1 more pound of honey to this. Bring it up, 15, 20 points or so. I think that might be enough. So now comes the dilemma.
Well, we have a further dilemma. Because we have a little baby jar.
The little baby jar can be treated completely separate.
Okay.
I'm thinking the little baby jar, as Derica said, we have another half gallon. It's sitting over there. I might just let that stay as this and age it for a while like that and see the differences. Sure. That way we can compare and contrast. But I think a pound of honey added to this is all we really need. Because this is so full, I gotta be very, very careful doing this. It's just a little bit crazy. The spoon isn't quite long enough even. Now, I am stirring up all the yeast again, and that's okay. I'm going to let this settle. It's going to sit for another month before we touch it again. It may ferment a bit more. We don't really know yet. That's why I just want to give this a chance to do its thing, okay? And I know some people are probably like, what? I don't even understand what you're doing here. Okay, let me explain. This started out with a little bit of a chaos situation. We don't really know the original gravity on this. So we don't know the gravity or the alcohol level that it's at now. It's somewhere between 11.5 and 14 or 15%. Well, that's that area that it could re-ferment again. It probably will, as a matter of fact, because if it's below 14, it should, and if it's just slightly above 14, it might anyway, because the yeast don't actually know the difference. So I want to just mix this honey in and let it do its thing. What I mean by that is, if it's going to sit at this alcohol level, that's cool. It's probably going to be sweet enough for us that we'll love it. Let it sit for a month, then we'll take a reading on it and see what we got. If it re-ferments, we'll taste it again, do just like we did today, see if we like it. If we want to add more sweetening to it, we add more sweetening then, and wash, rinse, and repeat all over again.
I know some of you that have been following this recipe are thinking now, what is your naming convention? Are you sticking to wine? And my answer is yes, we're sticking to wine.
It's still wine.
We now have a total of 2 pounds of honey and 1 pound of sugar.
In a 2-gallon batch, though.
We have all those fruit juices. So we're still going to be more on the sugar side from the fruit juice and the sugar versus the honey side.
Yeah, the basic gist is if it really started as a 1084, plus we added half a pound per gallon of honey today, that's another 17 points. So let's call it 1100. Only 35 points of that are from honey. Therefore, out of 100, only a third of it is honey. It's still wine. It's still very easily a wine. Now, if we end up back sweetening this enough, we could turn it into mead. Which, Fey Wine could be a mead. I mean, let's be honest here, it could be. I mean,
maybe the Fey have a different naming convention.
My point is, if we call this a mead, but it's still Fey Wine, does it taste any different? Okay, I think that is mixed through enough. The amount that might not be mixed through, the yeast will find it. This is the chaos brew, as far as I'm concerned. So the exact measurements aren't that critical other than the ending gravities, okay? So let's take another measurement on this. Okay, so now we have our new reading here. 1.012, all right? So we actually added 12 points to it, which is a little bit lower than I thought. I might not have mixed that honey all the way through. But again, like I said, this is the chaos brew, so it's all good. This will end up being a tasty thing, and it will have some alcohol in it. Those two things you can be sure of. Beyond that, it's homebrew. Does it really matter? All right, so I'm just going to stick a lid back on this with an airlock attached. Pop that sucker back on. And what's going to happen to this? It's going to go sit for about a month, okay? Good brews sometimes take a while. This is a little bit more of a complex brew than we've ever really done on the show, so sometimes they take a while. Time is your friend. This wants to work. We just have to get out of the way. So what it did is it worked beautifully. It did everything we wanted it to do. The yeast consumed all the sugars, made it go totally dry, and it's pretty much done. But now we added more honey to it. Is it going to ferment out? Is it going to stall? Is it going to do nothing and just stay a little bit sweet? Who knows? Find out next time. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.